When I became president under Mr. Reed's tutelage, kind of coincided with hiring and taking a big risk with Kelly Poshidi. And I think you guys can see with your own eyes how that worked out. I want to bring Miss Sheedy up. Sorry, Mrs. Sheedy. She does have a wonderful husband that's very supportive of the youth center, Rick, who I'd like to recognize. But this happened, and the reason we're here, the reason we have, the reason why we're freezing, didn't happen simply on generosity or the selflessness of you guys, Mr. Worski, Mr. Troxel, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Adu. It happened because our leadership team and Kelly understands vision, understands what it takes to put a team together. As Dr. Brennan would say, understands a force multiplier and to keep this rolling. You know, when we took a chance with Kelly, we were in dire straits, and you know, I can only equate it to catching a bolt of lightning, quite frankly. But Kelly has assembled a team. Our leadership team, led by Kelly, includes Megan, Keely, and Ashley, who are all here tonight. They all serve a role. They are all absolutely instrumental in the success of the youth center, and I cannot thank them enough, our leadership team. Thank you, guys. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to our bolt of lightning to continue the, you won't have to listen to me, but to continue our ceremony here, Miss Kelly Poshidi.
Talked about our leadership team, or what we refer to as the Core Four. I am constantly at a loss for how much I admire, respect, and value those three women. So I really want everyone else to know who you three are, because one of our board members after the last banquet said, my husband, he wanted to know which one was Megan. I'm like, what? Who doesn't know Miss Megan? Like, what? So I know it's hard to see in this lighting, but if Miss Megan, can you stand up, please? Give a wave. Miss Megan. Miss Ashley, sitting right next to her. Miss Ashley. The ball of energy. And Miss Keely, please stand up. The Core Four. These are the women steering the current FYC ship. We have Captain Jeff, a board of support, and a lot of other incredible mates. But every single thing that happens at this building or beyond, wherever the Firth Youth Center is directly related to the relentless hard work of one of these three women. So please, one more time for the Core Four, Miss Ashley, Miss Megan, Miss Keely. Very grateful. So I have a love-hate relationship with this part of the program every year. And I usually keep pushing it off until the last minute or the morning of. And I've given that a lot of thought because if you know me, you know I'm very type A and I'm always over-prepared for everything. But I've come to realize that it's just a feeling of being overwhelmed. And it's being overwhelmed because of the volume of people that we could highlight tonight. Not wanting to leave anyone out, not properly conveying our sincerest gratitude. And it's because there are so many people, including pretty much everybody in this room tonight, in this transformed event space, I should say, that we could select for the volunteer impact presentation. But when our team meets to select the volunteers to highlight, the conversation can go on for literally hours. And it usually ends up in a group chat later with a, oh my gosh, we forgot so-and-so. So scrolling next to me on either side, you'll see a list of 307 volunteers who assisted the Firth Youth Center throughout the 2023-2024 program year. 307. Some gave an hour, some gave an afternoon. Some joined committees, some volunteered every month, and some even helped us every week. Thousands of hours of service, all aimed to help the kids of Peaburg, all deserving of recognition. And I put one of my favorite quotes up there after compiling this list and really looking at it. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Helen Keller. You know, I wasn't gonna poke fun at Jeff because I feel like Zaimir did a fabulous job at that already. But I said this to him after I started maybe like 6 months in and feeling so overwhelmed at the volume of people helping. And then at that year's banquet, he quoted it like I said it. And now it makes total sense why he only went to Widener while his brother Brad went to Penn State University School of Law with a cum laude degree. So total sense. It's Helen Keller, not KPS. But now we know why I feel overwhelmed and procrastinate on this portion of the program every year. But of those 307, we have to narrow it down, the names and organizations, to find just a few that really go above and beyond. So we selected 5 this year that we'd like to highlight for this year's volunteer impact presentation. So first up, we have Kia Walters. Kia is the mother of Cameron and Keon Walters. She's a hardworking, strong, intelligent, forward-thinking woman who takes her role as mom as her #1 responsibility. Between parenting, working, and adulting, Kia's plate is always full. Yet she still finds time to volunteer with several different youth-serving organizations in Phillipsburg. When we put the call out to the community for volunteers for a brand new event, Kia was one of 3 people to respond. The two others were siblings of the committee chair, so they were kind of obligated. But Kia wasn't obligated whatsoever. I kind of was shocked that she even filled out the Google form. I'm available all day, put me anywhere you need me. So that Saturday morning in October, Kia showed up and volunteered for the entire event without much help or direction and surrounded by nearly 100 preteen boys. Kia stepped right in. Fast forward to April, when Keely and her lead Phillipsburg Drug-Free Communities Coalition really wanted to expand their youth substance use prevention messaging to parents on social media. Keely's idea was to film a parent-child conversation about substance misuse and the consequences. Finding a parent who was willing to model this type of conversation and have the confidence to make it seem believable, plus be influential enough in their own child's life to make them agree to do it as well, wouldn't be easy. Until Kia's name came up. After a quick text and a 5-minute phone call while cooking dinner, Kia was on board. She loved the idea, came the next week, and filmed the script perfectly within 1 take. As of Monday, that video has 152 views. Other agencies have reached out about using it for training purposes, and Dr. Troxel has now connected us to run it during commercials of the State Liner football game live streams in October. Spreading the messaging far and wide, parents are the first and most important teacher of their child, especially when it comes to living a healthy and safe life. While others appreciate what we do for their children, Kia is boots on the ground to help us do more for all children. So thank you so much, Kia. Next up, we have Susan Sica, who she couldn't be here tonight at the last minute. She was not feeling well, but we will definitely be sending her a recording of this. And she has a lot of other supporters in the room who are here that will certainly share the message with her. So, Susan's relationship with the FYC was ignited through the Hooray, It's Back to School Day initiative back in 2023. She was part of her church's supply donation drive at St. Luke's. However, when their leader, Mother Ann, who's here with us tonight, heard the need for bilingual volunteers at the registration table at a Hooray Day committee meeting, in steps Susan. For the past 2 years, Susan's ability to speak Spanish has been critical to the Hooray Day event. In the past, when a Spanish-speaking family came who we couldn't communicate with, we'd run around the building and try to find a parent or a child who can help us translate, and then sometimes just rely on Google. Seeing the helplessness and the embarrassment in their faces while we scrambled would always make our hearts sink. But now we have Susan. She is patient, welcoming, and makes each family feel valued as they're trying to find any means necessary to have their child feel prepared for school. Fast forward to the summer lunch program, when we had the idea to expand the free summer lunches to 3 park locations. We knew we need volunteers. Our staff couldn't oversee dozens of kids while simultaneously fulfilling all the USDA paperwork and protocols. Susan stepped up once again. For the entire month of July, Monday through Thursday, Susan was at a playground, serving lunch, keeping us in compliance, and expanding yet another program. In total, our playground program distributed 791 free lunches, while at the FYC, an additional 2,116 lunches were distributed to any child who came and rang our doorbell. Imagine how a parent must feel as grocery prices soar, knowing they have a free resource for lunches through the Firth Youth Center at our building or at the playgrounds throughout the entire summer. Without volunteers like Susan, this expansion would never have gotten off the ground. So for stepping up whenever called upon, thank you, Susan. Next, we are on to a new to Phillipsburg face, Miss Anna Sullivan, who's joined here tonight with her daughter, Marley. Anna and her husband, Matt, opened Salvage Sip Cafe on South Main Street in 2023. As a new business in town, we connected with Anna by hosting a few of our leadership team meetings at their charming cafe. She was welcoming, well-spoken, and radiated a positive energy. In conversation, Anna asked about the Firth Youth Center and offered her help if ever needed. I think I actually remember one of us saying to her, "You may regret offering that." Well, in February, when we were looking for new guest speakers for Black History Month, Anna came to mind. And within one short phone call, she was on board and on the schedule. Not only did she share what it was like growing up in Jamaica and bring a homemade delicacy for the kids to sample, and answer about 47 questions before Miss Ashley had to shut down the endless question brigade, but she truly expanded the minds of 80 after-school care and drop-in kids that afternoon. And a few months later, when Miss Maddie was looking for playground program visitors for Around the World Week, Anna stepped in without hesitation yet again. She spent 2 days visiting all 6 locations: Walters Park, Delaware Heights, Green Street, Firth, Alpha, and the new Phillipsburg Housing Authority location, sharing her culture and positive aura with 72 kids across 2 municipalities. Anna, for those experiences and all the other support you provide the Phillipsburg community, we cannot thank you enough. On to a man who I mentioned last year for a moment, but deserves recognition in a much bigger way, Mr. Ernie Honey. Mr. Honey popped by about 2 years ago with his annual donation to the Banquet. Long story short, we ended up walking the building together as he reminisced about his childhood in each room. That tour ended in a conversation about Pump Pass Kick. He shared the history of the Ford Motor Company-sponsored national event when hundreds of kids would compete out back of this building, right out here, in hopes of advancing to the regional, state, and eventually national championship during halftime of an NFL game. And how his buddy, Steve Searfoss, was a 3-time national champ from Peaburg, who went on to play at Ole Miss. We got the whole story that day. Growing up in Peaburg and reading through 70 years of meeting minutes with Mrs. Brennan, I was shocked that I never heard of the event. But later that night, Mr. Honey emailed me pictures, newspaper clippings, websites, rule books, and anything else to prove how massive Pump Pass Kick was throughout his childhood, so I believed him. He also offered to help bring it back, if we were ever interested. Within 10 minutes of sharing the idea with the Core 4, we were all in. Mr. Honey didn't just have an idea and tell us, you guys should do that. He was all in too. He engaged the legendary Steve Searfoss, assembled a committee of doers, aided in fundraising, went to every single youth sports football organization to discuss the event after practices, even knocked on schools' doors to drop off hard copies of flyers. We had to tell them, they do it like an ebook bag now, you gotta email it. The secretaries were like baffled. Who's this guy showing up with all these flyers? But he was boots on the ground for sure. He then attended our programs to teach the kids how to punt, pass, and kick with the help of the Phillipsburg High School football team, and problem solved any issues that arose. One committee meeting, he shared that he had learned a Phillipsburg High School graduate was the current Philadelphia Eagles cheer team captain, and he said he was going to reach out to her to see if she would attend. Honestly, I thought he was crazy, and there was zero possibility that the Philadelphia Eagles cheer captain was going to come back to Peaburg. But I guess I didn't truly know Mr. Honey's stop-at-nothing approach. Lo and behold, Miss Azari Ford, Philadelphia Eagles cheer captain, attended Punt Pass Kick on Saturday, October 14th in her full Eagles attire. And then came back the next week to join the winners under the Friday night lights at Maloney Stadium. And then came back again to host a youth substance misuse prevention program at the youth center. And then came back again to coordinate a cheer clinic, all because of Mr. Honey's persistence. Talk about a force multiplier, Dr. Brennan. My favorite part of that event is actually pictured up there in the middle at the top. A girl who was new to Phillipsburg. Actually, she's new to our country. At the time, she came to drop in and spoke about 5 words of English, and her parents spoke even less. Somehow, Miss Megan got her to sign up for the program. The whole family attended the 3-hour Punt Pass Kick event, cheering her on, taking photos as she collected her trophy and complimentary tickets to the next Friday night's game, smiling, laughing, feeling safe and welcome. They then attended the event at Maloney Stadium that Friday night, on the field at halftime in front of thousands. Noticing she was clearly overwhelmed and most likely confused, Miss Megan gently offered her hand. Valentina bravely took the field, never letting go of Miss Megan's hand, but she did it. All while her parents sat front row, cheering her on, taking photos, smiling, laughing, feeling safe and welcome. Valentina continued to attend programs throughout the rest of the year and is now enrolled in after-school care, absolutely thriving. And no one in here can imagine what this family's been through. But I know that event provided the hope for the future for their children that they desperately needed. So following the Punt Pass Kick event, Mr. Honey continued to serve the children of Phillipsburg through a Girls in Sports Day, keeping the clock at some basketball home games, running 40-yard dash events with our summer camp kids, and so much more. I could go on and on about Mr. Honey, but I have a feeling one day we'll be sharing much more about him at one of these events. But before I wrap up on him, I know he'd be very disappointed at me if I didn't take a moment to build the hype for the next Punt Pass Kick right here at the Firth Youth Center on October 26th. So thank you so much, Mr. Honey. So last, but certainly not least, we have Miss Ruby Dech. We've actually never highlighted a youth since starting the volunteer impact presentation in 2018. But when we were looking through that list of 307 volunteers, we knew Ruby deserved this recognition. One of the most important lessons we can teach the next generation is the power of giving back to your community. We preach that message constantly with the kids in our programs by highlighting different pieces of the history chronology wall throughout the year. We provide opportunities for youth to volunteer, like through the I Lead Youth Prevention Coalition, aiding in Dine and Dash distribution, and the greeters you saw here tonight. And our staff model volunteers throughout their own personal lives. This year, when the leadership team made the plan for summer 2024, which included increasing summer camp enrollment by 35%, adding the coordination of lunches to the 3 parks, offering 6 different late night weekly drop-in programs, going from 4 playgrounds for 5 weeks to 6 playgrounds across 8 weeks, and onboarding the largest staff group we've ever had. Expanding all of this, not because the board directed us to, actually quite the contrary. A few of the board members actually said, you guys are crazy, this is not necessary, but rather expanding because we knew it was the right thing to do for the kids, and that we knew we could do it. So in late May, realizing we may have bit off a little more than we can chew, I went to the team and said, we know we're gonna need more help, especially at the playgrounds. What are we gonna do? And one of the ideas that came up was to find youth counselors in training. However, that's not always a great solution. You see, anybody under the age of 18 would actually count in our ratio and be the responsibility of their staff. And it could easily become a situation that creates more headaches than help. So finding the right youth to fill those roles is critical. But then the name Ruby Dech came up. A smart, responsible, mature, athletic 12-year-old who lives within walking distance to the park. We then outreached to Ruby's mom, Amanda, who joins her tonight, explained the program and discussed the responsibilities. Miss Megan and Miss Ashley interviewed Ruby and shared the expectations of the position. Ruby eagerly and excitedly accepted and joined the playground program team. And I can wholeheartedly say, Ruby was critical to the success of our busiest playground location in Alpha. Not only did she know the kids by name, which really helps the counselors, especially the first few weeks, but she modeled appropriate behavior, helped with games, cleaned up, and experienced the program alongside the kids at our busiest location. Perhaps without even realizing it, at the age of 12, Ruby gave back to her community more than most adults do in their lifetime. Remember her name, Ruby Dech. She has a very bright future ahead. So while this concludes the volunteer impact presentation portion of the program this year, I encourage each of you, before you leave tonight, to spend some time to look at the history chronology in the Brennan Family Multipurpose Room. The FYC was initially erected and has been sustained the last 70 years due to volunteerism. Local residents, organizations, and companies stepping up, working together, and advancing the mission of the Firth Youth Center for generations of kids. And it is truly an honor and a privilege to work for an institution built by the people of Phillipsburg for the children of Phillipsburg. So now we will close out tonight with a video our kids helped us make entitled, What I Love About the Firth Youth Center.